Brett, Ian and Chris have big plans to grow their financial planning businesses. In no more practice, they have been challenged to produce business plans for growth that will stand the scrutiny of our team of industry heavyweights. To answer the ultimate question, would you buy my business? This week, our business owners meet their final advisor. It's been a long road for them all, and this is the last chance to tweak the plan or ask questions before facing the judges. Welcome to No More Practice Series 3. When we last saw Chris, mentors Barry Lambert and Robbie Bennett raised concerns about the amount of debt that Chris was willing to take on in order to buy a new parcel of clients. However, Chris believes it is the best way to build his business.
I'd suggest a guy called Paul Barrett. I don't know if you've met Paul over the years, but currently with ANZ. And Paul's been involved with a lot of mergers and acquisitions over the years. I think it'd be very beneficial if you went and had a chat to Paul as well. I'm sure he'd be very happy to have a look and help you. And it's just sort of that extra opinion on it, just to make sure you're protecting that loan that you have to the future, and that'll protect your own rear end from your wife. Yeah. So I think there's some good benefits there for you.
Good call.
So Chris is off to see Paul Barrett. Paul is the General Manager of Advice and Distribution at ANZ. It is Chris's final opportunity to get expert advice and to make sure his business plan is bulletproof and won't be shot down on Judgment Day.
So you want to build a sustainable business, Chris?
I do, Paul.
That's rare.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just think that, you know, a business, post this sale, about 98% of our clients will be X and Y. So we'll be true to label and we'll have a nice sort of growing business.
It sounds noble. I suppose the key question I've got for you is a question of economics.
Yep.
And that is, if Generation X and Y are your target market, and you've got a profitable book that you're thinking about selling to fund more work into that target market, how do you actually make a profitable venture when we know we have a dilemma and advice around people actually valuing advice and paying for it?
We're talking about the semi-professional business development managers, you know, people who are in mid-level management, guys who don't run the company. And so they're not prepared to pay thousands of dollars of fees. But what they're quite happy with is to pay a fee of, you know, between $500 to $1,600. And they're happy that we actually take their insurance commission.
Right, so you're essentially cross-subsidising other parts of your offer through the insurance commissions you receive.
Precisely. Insurance is a big cornerstone of our business.
How sustainable really do you think your model is? And do you think you need to, even in your insurance business, start contemplating what fee-for-service means to ready yourself for the future?
We're charging a fee on insurance advice, but I guess we're not taking it if the insurance commission goes through. Do you think it's a sustainable model? Do you think that insurance commissions are going to be sustained in the long term?
I think in the long run you've got to be prepared for a non-subsidised world. The challenge for the industry is, how do we get consumers to pay what financial planning advice is really worth?
Paul's first piece of advice: it's time to prepare for a non-subsidised industry model.
Do you think the acquisition strategy is still alive and well, or do you think with the introduction of the FOFA legislation it's under threat?
If your aspirations are to triple your growth in 3 years, then you've almost got to rule in acquisition. Pay a reasonable price, and based on what I see in the market, those opportunities exist. In the new world post-FOFA with an acquisition, you've got to be able to add value very quickly to that client base. You've got to be able to engage that client base. The days of just buying books to increase your trail commissions are over. The acquisition's got to be made because you think you can add value to those clients, advise them well, you know, get referrals from them, increase the amount of business you do with them. And if your value proposition is robust enough and your service delivery is robust enough and you've got a degree of automation, then you can absolutely still make acquisitions work.
Paul's second piece of advice: if acquiring new clients, make sure your value proposition is strong enough to make a profit without commissions. So Paul has pinpointed 2 areas for Chris to consider before facing the judges. It's time to prepare for a non-subsidised industry model. And if acquiring new clients, make sure your value proposition is strong enough to make a profit without commissions. Brett and Ian have almost finalised a deal to raise a hefty $1 million investment. If their deal is successful, they can build up their IT infrastructure and bring a marketing expert on board. Barry and Robbie are impressed, but they have advised the boys to get an accounting expert to have a close look at the detail of the deal.
Sounds to me, guys, that you've got most things under control. You know where you're going, where you want to go. You've spoken to a number of people. I understand that you do your internal accounting okay, but you probably don't. You haven't been using any external accountant in a big way to perhaps have a look from the outside at your numbers.
So today, Ian is meeting Terry Slattery. Terry heads up the forensic accounting and business valuations practice at DFK. Terry's specialty is in the valuation of interests in private businesses.
Now, assuming that we all go forward with this and you borrow your $1 million, yes, I'm interested in what plans you have in place to mitigate the financial risk that comes with taking on a debt of that magnitude.
Of a lot of our mentors, Barry and Robbie, have certainly counselled against trying to win the war in one day.
Yep.
It's literally there's lots of time. Be the old bull on top of the hill. So the first execution risk around that is making sure that we're slowing down any expenditure, slowing down bringing resources on.
With regard to the full extent of the debt that you're potentially taking on, like what's the time frame around the expenditure of that?
So the time frame around that would be probably 3 years.
Yeah. So you're going to stage your growth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And only going to draw on extra funds above a certain limit. Only if we're hitting KPIs. So we're only going back if we're successful. We're not going back if Rome's burning.
Sure.
Terry's first piece of advice is to mitigate the financial risk that comes with taking on a large debt.
The thing to always bear in mind is a fundamental rule I always give to people, and that is measuring the term of your debt with the life of the asset that you're buying with that debt. And so you don't want to end up in a situation where you go out and take on a 10-year term loan to fund today's working capital. Some people laugh when I say that to them, but I see examples of this all the time. Yes. And so I think what that sort of leads into is that if we're talking about a global funding requirement of, say, $1 million, it's not just one homogenous sort of clump of money.
Yes,
I mean, it should be, and your financier should be looking at breaking it up into different types of facilities that will be used to finance the different aspects of your business as you go forward.
Terry's second piece of advice: measure term of debt with life of asset.
Cash, obviously, is absolutely king.
Yes.
And I come across businesses all the time, fundamentally strong businesses that fail or struggle simply because of an inability to understand the timing of cash flows. And I mean, I've seen some of your numbers, and your projections look very impressive, but I haven't seen the underlying cash flows.
And I think kind of what you're saying there, it's easy to do anything on a spreadsheet. It's the reality which really counts. So making sure that you do have a sound budget, at least from a projection point of view, and then matching that weekly against what is actually happening.
And I say to people, be real, be real.
Terry's third piece of advice: be real with cash flow projections. So having looked at Brett and Ian's $1 million business commitment, Terry has pinpointed 3 key areas they will have to address before facing the judges on Judgment Day. Mitigate the financial risk that comes with taking on a large debt. Measure term of debt with life of asset. And be real with cash flow projections. It has been a lot of work for our advisors. Chris has found a potential buyer for his clients and is now thinking about the next phase. Brett and Ian have almost found an investor, but will it be enough to please 4 of Australia's top financial minds?
How are you going to make money out of this?
Oh, I'm really surprised. I, to be honest, didn't think you had much of a chance.
In the next episode of No More Practice, it's finally here. Judgment Day has come.
Judgment Day is a day to be excited.
Oh, it all's going to be revealed on Judgment Day, so I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
If you would like to meet the experts in this show, go to our website, nomorepractice.com.au and click on the Live Event tab to register for our No More Practice live event. You can view the experts' profiles prior to the event under the Marketplace tab.